This year on World Press Freedom Day, the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken called out Russia, China, and the Taliban for targeting journalists. The condemnation was especially poignant because it comes on the heels of the death of Brent Renaud, an American journalist killed by Russian forces in Ukraine. Now, when it came to Renaud's death, the U.S. quickly and angrily denounced Russia. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan called the killing shocking and horrifying, while blasting the Russians for targeting civilians, hospitals, places of worship, and journalists. The forceful condemnation was similar to that of the 2018 killing of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi by Saudi forces. In response, the Biden administration imposed sanctions and visa bans on 76 Saudi nationals who played a role in Khashoggi's death. Yet the American commitment to defending slain American journalists is reaching a point of inflection when it comes to the Palestinian-American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. In May, Abu Akleh, an Al Jazeera journalist, was covering an Israeli raid on a Palestinian refugee camp in the West Bank. Shots rang out, and she was struck in the head. Eyewitnesses, including fellow journalists, say she was shot by an Israeli soldier. Just last week, the Israeli military admitted for the first time that it is, quote, highly probable that Abu Akleh was killed by an Israeli soldier's telescopic gun. The Israeli military has called the killing an accident and says it will not be prosecuting the soldier involved. A senior IDF official went on to say that Shireen's back had, quote, probably been turned, preventing the soldiers from adequately seeing her. However, footage of the shooting clearly shows Shireen wearing a protective vest labeled press on both the front and the back. U.S. State Department Deputy Spokesman Vedant Patel issued a tepid statement on Tuesday following the Israeli admission, saying, quote, we're going to continue to press our Israeli partners to closely review its policies and practices on rules of engagement and consider additional steps to mitigate the risk of civilian harm, protect journalists, and prevent similar tragedies in the future, end quote. On Tuesday, the Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen called for America to investigate, tweeting, quote, the crux of the defense in this IDF report is that a soldier was returning fire from militants. But investigations found no such firing at the time. This underscores the need for an independent U.S. inquiry into this American journalist's death, end quote. Shireen's killing has raised questions about why, in this particular case, the United States has not been more vocal in pleading Shireen's case before Israel. There's a larger pattern at play here when it comes to Palestinian victims of Israeli aggression, and it's the idea that the American government does not want to even give the appearance of calling out Israel on the world stage. I want to introduce now Lina Abu Akleh. She is the niece of the slain Palestinian-American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh, and she is asking for more answers than the family has been getting. Lina, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. Can you respond to Israel's report saying that the killing was accidental and that they see no need to do anything further with the soldier involved?
Thank you for having me, Ali. You know, today marks 4 months since they killed Shireen. 4 months where we still have no accountability. And at this point, and more than ever, we cannot rely on Israel's word. Their narrative has continued to shift, to change from day one. They've changed it around 7 times. They continue to obscure the truth, all in order to avoid responsibility and accountability for brutal violence against my aunt and to many other Palestinians. But we know the truth. We know that Shireen was in Jenin. She was reporting, and she was wearing a press vest. And mind you, there was press written in the front and the back of her vest. So anything, the truth, anything other than what reputable organizations have concluded that Israel targeted and shot her is merely lies and disinformation.
What do you want the American government to do about this?
We want the American government to investigate, to carry out an investigation into the killing of citizens. You know, until every statement they put out is merely empty words. No action followed, and now more than ever, we feel that they want to sweep it under the rug. So imagine the same situation. It's so infuriating that until today, they haven't taken any action to hold Israel accountable for the killing of own citizens. You know, if this was happening in another I know from day one there would have been justice. From day one there would have been accountability. But instead, I had to shoulder the responsibility when this is the role that the U.S. should have played the moment my aunt was killed. We want the U.S. to hold the Israeli soldier accountable, to hold the army accountable, and to get us justice. That's the least they can do.
You have said that your aunt was killed twice, once in Jenin, where she was shot, and once in Jerusalem. What did you mean by that?
Yes. Shireen was killed twice, once in Jenin, second time in Jerusalem on May 18th during her funeral, when the Israeli paramilitary police attacked the mourners, attacked my family with batons. They were armed. They stormed the hospital and they brutally attacked us with batons. I remember having to be dragged inside the hospital, traumatized, crying in shock for what is happening outside, only to see that Israeli police are also raiding the hospital and throwing stun grenades inside the hospital. You know, they didn't let us mourn in peace. They attacked us. And the images from the funeral is something that we will never forget. The way they attacked the pallbearers and her casket on the verge of falling. That just shows how threatened they felt for something which is our right to mourn her, our right to put her to rest peacefully. But they killed her once, and they continue to kill her, and they continue to try to silence her. But on the day of her funeral, Shireen continued to louder than ever, continue to uncover the brutal violence that we continue to face on a daily basis.
Lina, besides Senator Van Hollen of Maryland, have you been working with other American officials to obtain the justice that you're seeking for your aunt?
Yes, we continue to call on all members of Congress and senators to pressure the U.S. administration to launch an investigation. Representative Andrea Carson introduced the Justice for Shireen Act, requires the U.S. State Department to provide a report and to open it. So in future cases when such a crime happens, the U.S. is automatically obliged to open an investigation. And we are very thankful for all the efforts but this now more than ever, we need there to be all these statements, all these words to be followed by meaningful action so we can have accountability and justice, but also to no other family, no other journalist, no other person has suffered like ours has. It's a difficult journey. We are hopeful. We will continue to fight for our justice, and we will not relent.
Lina, thank you for joining me today. Lina Abu Akleh is the niece of Shireen Abu Akleh.